Hey, Jill. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show today. That's Not a Thing, Mr. Global and moderator Jilly. Jill, I might bring you up over here. How you doing?
Hello. Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Good, good, good. First of all, if you didn't see yesterday's show, I interviewed Will Westmoreland. It is up on my YouTube page. It's 90 minutes. Great interview. Tomorrow, Tom Powell Jr., interviewing Tom Powell Jr. I got some others lined up next week. Senior Forbes Energy contributor Robert Rapier, Justin Rupel, actor, comedian, master impressionist, working on some other people as well. Going to be doing a lot more interviews in the future. You ready to start, Jill?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
B Heard. Oh, he said Will is an. I thought he called me an amazing human. He said Will is an amazing. On YouTube. Hello, Jill, Charlie, Joe, Irene, sarcastic sister, always back. Present for class. Hi, everyone. Nick, Karen, Pito from Zapata. I've been to Zapata. Andy, I watched it last night. Very informative. Thank you guys. So I want to start off by talking about an article that I think um, when Robert told me about it, uh, he said it's going to be a little bit spicy, right? So I was like, oh man, Robert Rapier and spicy. What does that mean? You know, because Robert's like the least spicy person I've ever met. Um, today in Forbes, he wrote about the California wildfires. He wrote about California suing big oil for climate change. And all hell Lord Gwarf. Okay. Hey, Real, Ryan. In the article, he talked about how the state of California and other governments are suing big oil for climate change. And he pointed out that big oil is responsible for about 5% of climate emissions. And, you know, that is not going to sit well with a lot of people. But it's true, right? It's not going to sit well with a lot of people, but it's absolutely true. Big oil is responsible for about 5%. He also shows some things I've showed in the past. Um, you know, the policymakers in the U.S. Uh, have never relied on anything big oil said when it came to climate change. They've never used anything big oil said in drafting their policies towards renewable energy or climate change or anything like that. They've never once done any of that. And in addition, you know, the government, the U.S. government, the CIA, the state of California, Stanford University, UCLA, a lot of government and educational organizations did a ton of studies on climate change long before big oil ever came out with their research. And so the stance of the government, the state of California, is basically we didn't know about climate change, and so therefore we're going to sue big oil because they did know. And it's an undisputed fact that they knew the potential harm, and it's an undisputed fact that they permitted every single drop of oil that was ever produced in the state of California was not only permitted by the state with the knowledge they had, but they also profited greatly off of it. So it's a good article. I recommend you go read it. That's not to say that you couldn't make the argument for some responsibility with big oil, but to ask um, people who contribute 5% to pay for 100% just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I've never thought any of this stuff would hold up in court, and I think it's more political than anything. Westy, $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Westy. I really appreciate that. You guys have any thoughts? They knew just like Big Tobacco knew. Yeah, I'm not saying they didn't know. I'm saying the government knew and permitted it. The government knew before Big Oil knew, and they still permitted it, right? Everything they did was with the permission and express consent of the United States government, the state of California, and they had all of the information that Big Oil had, right? You know, and for the people that want to say, oh, they knew, well, you've known about climate change your whole life. Have you ever stopped driving your car? Like, where does your responsibility end and someone else's responsibility begin? Because I can sit here and say, oh, they knew. I've known about climate change since before I was driving. It never stopped me from driving a car. So where does my responsibility lie in that, right? So you know, it is what it is. It simply is what it is. And the fact of the matter is, everyone shares responsibility in this. And the people can pretend like they had no knowledge and they didn't contribute or they weren't given options or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we all share responsibility in this. And to say otherwise is shirking your own responsibility. I'd be happy to take responsibility for my part in it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've never done anything. It's just madness, right? It's madness. If you're over here on TikTok, please give the moderator Jill. She's here to help. The chat is always slower on YouTube. If you have a question, you feel like I'm not getting to it, you come into the YouTube live, I'm much more likely to see it, much more likely to answer it. We got a little relief from natural gas prices today. I read a study earlier from the NERC, which is the National Electricity Reliability Corporation, that came out in December of 2024. And I posted a video about it. It's not looking good for the reliability of our grid, the reliability of our ability to continue to transmit electricity, especially in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes area, in a path down towards the Gulf Coast. Every single district in the United States, North America, every single district in North America is either at an elevated level of grid failure, of electricity reliability failure, or a very high risk. And when you're at very high risk of electricity failure, with this assessment, it means that if you're in that area, that you are prone to blackouts, regardless of the weather. Right? You're prone to blackouts, regardless of the weather. Right? And what's going on is electricity demand. And I've actually talked about this for a few years. Anything I've said about it in the past has been largely ignored because people in the United States just don't believe that there could come a day when they can't rely on their electricity, right? People have grown comfortable in this country and they think the lights will always be on. Well, it's as electricity demand grows, as population grows, as population moves to specific areas within the country, it puts a lot of strain on the grid, on the electricity supply. And the first thing you start seeing is the reason I read this report, this assessment today. The first thing you start seeing when the beginning of this is you start seeing utility bills skyrocket. And the reason you start seeing utility bills skyrocket is because electricity is just like anything else. Supply and demand. Electricity bills go up because there's more demand, right? And the supply is pretty much the same, right? So during You've heard of peak hour, right? You've heard of peak demand times. Um, we have an aging grid. We have aging electricity power generation systems that are retiring and needing to be replaced. There's a lot going on. So to see that assessment and to read that assessment and to see the entire country at an elevated risk for power failures was sort of sobering, even though it's something I've talked about for quite a while. If you want to read that assessment, it's December 2024 is when it came out by the NERC, National Electric Reliability Corporation, and it's pretty detailed. They really get into the weeds. They talk about a lot of stuff you're not going to be interested in. I would suggest you scroll to the page where they have the grid that shows all the districts and their status, and they're all either high risk or elevated. And then there's below that there's a map where you can literally look on a map and see where the high risk areas are. There's a large part of the United States is under high risk. Large part of the United States is considered high risk. Assess the situation in California. Actually, according to that assessment, California was actually one of the better places in the United States, which was shocking to me. Because everything I'd read before that was counter, right? Would at-home batteries help? Yeah, at-home batteries would help. I don't know their capabilities at this point as far as how long they last. I think the last I heard, like the best at-home battery on the market today is good for 48 hours, I think. Mr. Global, did you hear anything on China dumping the US and going to Canada for their needs? That's not really a thing. That's not really a thing. Canada did not make a deal with China. That's not a thing. China didn't dump the US. That's not a thing. The Trans Mountain Pipeline has been planned and in the works for many years, and contracts between corporations in Canada and other corporations in China, Japan, South Korea, those contracts have been in place since before the Trans Mountain Pipeline even began construction. So the companies that are buying oil from the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which is in Canada, but not sold by Canada, right? Those contracts have been in place for years and years and years. That's how this works. Before a company builds a pipeline, before a company builds an LNG export terminal, before a company builds any of this stuff, they secure contracts. And they have to secure contracts because that's how they secure the financing, is with the contracts. I've been asked 100 times about how Canada struck a deal with China. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. Countries don't strike deals with countries regarding the sale of privately held goods. That's not a thing, you know. We've gotten so wrapped up in this talk about us versus them, United States versus China, Trump and all this tariff bullshit. The United States doesn't sell a drop of oil. That is not a thing. Companies in the United States sell oil to the broad market, and whoever wants it, buys it, bids on it, buys it. That's how it works. Canada doesn't sell shit. The United States doesn't sell shit, okay? And we have to have a basic understanding of that before we can continue having conversations about this. Florida is mild. Each summer seems hotter than the last. Yes, that's summers are getting hotter. Up until this winter, winters were getting hotter. Utility price increase, is that due to natural gas exports? It is. It's due to a couple of things. So, one, natural gas exports. We just opened two more LNG terminals in the United States, so that's another couple of billion cubic feet a day going out the door. Two, in 2023, we set a record for natural gas production in the United States. We were producing more natural gas than we ever had. We were producing more natural gas than any country in the world ever had, and it completely crashed the natural gas market. Natural gas prices fell to $1.50. So that caused production of natural gas to slow way down, obviously, right? And so we're in this period where demand is rising drastically while production is kind of flat. And now we find ourselves a couple of hundred, about I think 300 billion cubic feet below the 5-year average on inventory levels. And that was from the report that came out today. The natural gas inventory report that came out today on the 20th. But the report that came out today was for the week ending February the 14th. So all of the record cold temperatures that we've experienced this week are not reflected in today's inventory levels. And what that means, what that means is we are going to be way below the 5-year average a week from today when that next report comes out. Gas prices have given up a little bit of their gains today. They have fallen back a little bit. They're still about 50 cents higher than they were a few days ago. But next week's storage report is going to be critical. I would not be surprised to see a 500 billion cubic feet drop in inventories in the United States based on what I saw this last week. And for those of you who don't read natural gas inventory reports, you may not understand what a 500 billion cubic feet drop means. It's huge. That's what it means. I'll put it to you this way. The report this week was 100 billion cubic feet drop. Next week it could be 500, right? So next week we could see 5 times the drop we saw this week. The week before this week, I think it was 200 and something billion cubic feet. That was the last cold spell we had. Real Bill says there's an abnormal rain event in Antarctica. Wow, an atmospheric river is dumping water where it will freeze and be removed from North America. Wow. Is it OPEC that sets oil prices? Is it is supply and demand? Is it both? It's mostly OPEC because OPEC can rapidly increase or decrease production, and no other nations can do that, right? OPEC controls, and OPEC Plus together control roughly 60% of the global oil supply, and even more importantly, that is at the rapid pace they can increase production, lower production. And we can't do that in the United States. We can't rapidly increase production in the United States. So we don't have any control over oil prices globally. You could say over a period of a year, we could have an impact on oil prices, but OPEC can impact oil prices daily. OPEC can impact oil prices daily, right? It takes us a long time. Brian says it's currently 44 below zero in Antarctica. Glad I'm not in Antarctica. Thank you for the question, proud Canadian. What is your take on Donald Trump messing with Saudi Arabia on upping their oil production? I told everyone for a year before the election that was exactly what Donald Trump was going to do. He was going to do it immediately, and that's exactly what he did. And they said exactly what I said they would say. They said no. Everyone saw that coming from a mile away, right? Clay, Per your request, I boycotted Chevron. Um, what do you think of Quick Trip? I love Quick Trip. I love Quick Trip. I have so many. I have so many Canadians following me now. Well, I go to my messages and it's just Canadian flags everywhere. So thank you guys. Hi Mary, welcome. Would I interview Vic Myers? Sure, I would. I don't know Vic very well. I haven't watched a lot of his content. I will check out Vic's content and I'll interview anybody. Cabbage wants to know if you estimate oil will be flat for a while, do you think those 9,000 laid off Chevron workers will have a realistic chance of being absorbed by the rest of the industry? Um, uh, no. I mean, some of them will. Some of the very exceptional ones will. Most of them won't. Most of them won't. Most of them won't. Does Canada have enough refineries to meet their own demand? Yeah, pretty much. They can. Canada can pretty much refine what they need for their own consumption, and they export the rest. So pretty much, yeah. They could maybe use one more refinery, but you know that's because you always want spare capacity. You always want spare capacity for um, downtime, right? You always need a little spare capacity. You always need a little redundancy, and they're basically right there where they can basically refine exactly the amount they need, but um, you can always use a little redundancy. Do you think OPEC will increase production? I do not. I do not think OPEC will increase production. And so, something kind of big is going to have to happen for them to do that, right? Donald Trump's going to have something big happen that gives him some leverage he doesn't normally have. That's what happened in 2018. That's what's going to have to happen now. So, our bill last month was $300 more than this time last year. Wow. Yeah, I've been warning people for a bit about higher utility bills. Did Biden kill 14,000 jobs when he halted the Keystone Pipeline? That number is all over the place. I can tell you how many permanent jobs he likely got rid of. I think that's like 60 permanent jobs. The number of temporary jobs, I've seen everything from 3,000 to 50,000. Now, the progress on the pipeline had stopped due to the Supreme Court ruling. Were those people actively working in that window of time between the Supreme Court ruling and Joe Biden's deal? Some people say yes, some people say no. I can't tell you how many people were physically working on the day that it happened, and the government can't tell you, and TC can't tell you. Apparently, nobody knows because the numbers are all over the place. But If were jobs lost, yes. You know how many? I don't know. Could be 14,000. It seems high, but I mean it could be. If you look at jobs and because every time a job is created somewhere, there's other jobs created that are associated to that job, right? So even though it might not have been 14,000 direct jobs, if you looked at the direct and indirect jobs that would be created outside of the industry in support of that project, it could have been 14,000. Yeah, could have been. Hi, Pap. How are you? I'm in. I have my glasses on. Anyway, they just installed smart meters, and now our bill has tripled. That happens a lot when they install smart meters because smart meters aren't very smart and they don't work very well. Uh, yeah. What do I do with my glasses? New Brunswick. Okay. Uh, hey, is New Brunswick? Is that where they make bowling balls? Do they make bowling balls in New Brunswick? Um, hey, Juju, how are you? How is Drill Baby Drill going to help? It's not. It's not going to help because we're not going to do it. Yeah, they installed smart meters for our water where I live, and everybody's water bill like doubled, tripled, quadrupled, you name it. Like it was insane. The whole town about lost their shit. The Beaten Path says that's Brunswick, New Jersey, where they make the bowling balls. Okay. White House press secretary says Canada 51st state. You know, I got to be honest. I'm a little disappointed, and I hope this doesn't piss off the Canadians. I'm a little disappointed in Canadian leadership. I would love to see one of them just let it rip on Donald Trump. Like I would. I would love to see them just completely lose their shit and just say exactly what they want to say. Quit being politicians. Quit being proper. Say what you want to say. You can tell by looking at them they want to say what, you know. Do that. Do that. Say what you want to say. If you think he's a stupid motherfucker, say he is a stupid motherfucker. If you think he's the stupidest motherfucker on the planet, say that. Don't say a dressed down, softer version of that. Say exactly what you're thinking, right? And maybe someone has. It looks like someone over here on TikTok says Charlie Angus has. I haven't seen that. That's awesome if he has, because that's what I'm dying to see. I'm dying to see the leaders of Canada just flip out and say, "Shut your fucking stupid face up, you dumb motherfucker. You're a fucking idiot." Just let them have it. Just shame the shit out of him. Shame the shit out of him. And you can rip on Trump. I'm telling you, you can. He will actually respect you more if you do it. That's how you got to handle a bully. You got to handle a bully by being a bully. You can't show any weakness. You can't be proper. You know, you might have to say dirty words. You might have to say dirty words. And a lot of people are saying Charlie Angus. I have not seen that. I'm definitely going to go look. I don't know Charlie Angus, but I'm starting to like him based on what I've seen on on my comments. If you follow Midas Touch, there was an interview with Charlie earlier. Check it out. I'll check it out, but not on Midas Touch. I don't follow Midas Touch. Why don't I follow Midas Touch? Because they're really bad about spreading misinformation. They're not as bad as right wing media like Fox, but they're pretty bad about it. And I know a lot of people love them, and I know they're the number one podcast. How do you think they got that way? Do you think they got where they are by with truthful and honest journalism? That's not a thing. That's not a thing in the United States. You know. And I've called them out for misinformation too. So, um, if you know anything about me, I don't watch the news. Um, Chris says a lot of sensationalism. Yes, a lot of sensationalism. The world is always burning. The world is always on fire. And my biggest problem with Midas Touch is when um, one of their contributors was spreading misinformation, and I called them out. Instead of retracting it, they doubled down on it. And that's when I knew I was done. That's when I knew I was done. If they had said we made a mistake, would have been good, right? But they didn't. They doubled down on it. They said I was wrong. They said I was wrong. And they were talking about oil and gas. And then they said, well, that's not what we meant. I'm like, yeah, that's what you meant. That's exactly what you meant. That's exactly what you meant. You're entirely full of shit. I don't, I don't care what side you're on if you're full of shit. If you're full of shit, you're full of shit. Whether you're on the left or the right or the middle, or it doesn't matter to me. If you're full of shit, you're full of shit. And if I get something wrong, if I misspeak, if I get something wrong, I will correct it. You have to. You have to. Did you see J.B. Pritzker's State of the State for Illinois? He ripped Trump and his administration. I did not see that. I saw J.B. Pritzker talking, but I didn't listen. And I don't even know Fox News is 4 times worse. Well, I don't watch Fox News either. Yeah, I don't watch Fox News either. Pritzker is funny. So you see a lot of lawyers getting into the media business You see a lot of lawyers becoming journalists and taking the media route. So I guess I would ask, why would a lawyer want to be in the media, right? Having lawyers in the media is worse than having lawyers in Congress. You literally have people in the media that are trained to sell you on something that is not true and make it sound convincing. They're lawyers. That's what they do for a living. Is present a case, right? I don't want to be presented a case. I want to be presented the news. Misinformation is the entire reason we are where we are. Misinformation is the entire reason we are exactly where we are. It is the number one reason we are here today. So I don't care how your misinformation is measured. And even if you're incorrect, right? If you come out and you report something and you're incorrect, all you have to do is correct it. And it's forgiven. You correct it and it's forgiven. People are under a lot of pressure to create content, to put out news every day. Trust me, it's pressure when you have to create something to tell the people. You have to come up with something to tell the people. You know, especially if you work for Midas Touch. Hell, you probably spend every waking moment of your life trying to come up with something, some content, some news story to say to people, right? It creates a lot of pressure, a lot of deadlines, a lot of pressure. You end up putting something out that isn't accurate. That's fine. Just come back and say, I retract. I made a mistake. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Jill, how cold is it today where you live?
It's 20 degrees.
Yeesh. It's colder here. Of course it's colder here. Why is it colder here than it is there? That makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I have no idea. It makes no sense.
Ryan says it's 31 degrees in Maine. It's like 10. It's like 10 here, I think. I'd have to look. It's like 10. I'm just going to say it's 10. It's totally 10.
Well, it says it feels like 4 here, so I mean, I don't know how you go from 20 to 4, but that's what it says.
The wind.
I know. And it is pretty windy.
What is the formula? That I want to know that. I want to know what the formula is. Do you know anything about the recycling of oil and getting it back into the system? Yeah. Um, Mary, I'm in Oklahoma. Yeah, oil is recycled every day. Used oil is recycled every day. Yeah, a lot of it is used for, roads, bridges, things like that. Also, so XYZZ says it depends on the relative humidity and the wind speed together. Wow, that makes sense. But yeah, oil is recycled every day. They even make like synthetic motor oil out of recycled oil. It's used for a ton of stuff. Recycling oil is a pretty fairly lucrative business, according to the people I know that do it. Is it true that oil never wears out? It just gets dirty. No, that's not true. It breaks down. It breaks down. Wichita Fall feels like 8. One of the guys I follow on TikTok lived in Europe. Says there's no Chevys or Fords in Europe due to high taxes. Only Volvo, VW, BMW, Mercedes. So that's pretty accurate. I've been to Europe, spent a fair amount of time there, and that's true. Um, you do see Chevys and Fords, but there's not you know there's a lot of Buicks there. In Europe, a Buick is like the luxury import car, sort of like the Mercedes is in the United States. In Europe, a Mercedes is like a Chevy. It's a domestic car, basically. There's Mercedes everywhere, right? Mercedes are like the Chevys in the United States. Buicks are like the luxury import car, like the Mercedes. Um, Mary used to live in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Friends are saying very cold there. I used to live in Fort Smith as well. I was born there, have a lot of family there. I've lived in Fort Smith. I've lived in Van Buren. I've lived in Cedarville. Those are all areas around Fort Smith, for those that don't know. Thoughts on President Trump's plan to lower gas prices? What's his plan? I don't know what his plan is. I know what he says, but that doesn't mean. Um, his plan is to figure out how to flood the market and crash everything. That's his plan because that's really the only way you can lower gas prices the way he wants to. What are common basic misconceptions about oil and gas that you notice, like things people claim to know but get wrong all the time? One of the most common things I hear lately is that the United States cannot refine any of its own oil. Ash lives in Van Buren. Sethwell, Bentonville is the best in Arkansas. I'm biased. I lived in Van Buren as a child. Uh, lived in Van Buren I've lived in Van Buren a couple of times. My grandparents spent their life in Van Buren on 15th Street. Yes, I did see a lot of Renault in Europe for sure. I saw a lot of those. Bran has installed a formula into the chat. What does it mean to CO2 your well? I don't know what that means. I've never heard of CO2ing a well. Why is it a bad thing for low prices for the barrel? Because the people that provide us those barrels go broke. Um, the people that provide us those barrels go broke, and then we lose critical infrastructure. And the next time gas prices rise, they rise even more than they did the time. It's a cycle. And every time we have a crash, we lose some infrastructure, we lose some capability, and when everything comes back, prices are higher, right? And then there's another crash, it comes back, prices are higher. Another crash comes. So um, people in the United States think that they should pay for gasoline what they paid for it 30 years ago. Is there anything in this country that you can buy today for the same price you paid for it 30 years ago? You know, companies experience the same long-term inflation that people do, right? So if it cost you twice as much to live as it did 30 years ago, or three times as much as it did 30 years ago, it costs a company two or three times as much to operate as it did 30 years ago. And the expectation is that these companies deliver their goods at the same prices they did 30 years ago and endure the 3x cost to operate. That's not a thing. Yeah, look at what we pay for water, you know. Look at what we pay for water. I can you go into a convenience store, you're going to pay more for a bottle of water than you are a gallon of gas a lot of times. And guess what? That bottle of water isn't a gallon. So that's why bad. That's why it's bad. You know, it's yeah, totally. It's totally a thing. How is the oil and gas industry looking for the year? It's going to be flat. Activity is going to be flat. Prices are going to be flat. Um, there's going to be job losses. We're already seeing job losses. Um, there's not going to be any drill baby drill. Lorianne, thank you, Matt, for your video this morning about the price of natural gas. Trump reinstated the policy Biden put a hold on, so Americans will have 2 to 3 times higher gas and electric bills. So, what is happening right now, right now today with utility bills in the United States, that would have occurred either way, right? That would have occurred either way because, what Joe Biden put a stop to was permits for basically issuing permits for new facilities. We already had a half a dozen or so facilities that were permitted and not open yet. So this is a more long-term thing, and what this means is what's happening this week would have happened regardless. But what happens in a year from now is going to be significantly different, or 2 years from now is going to be significantly different than what would have happened if Donald Trump had went the other way. Does that make sense? So what has occurred is more long-term effect, definitely more long-term effect, and it's, people know and understand that I am not like an alarmist, or I'm not hyperbolic. I just tell it like it is, right? So when I say, be prepared for something, that's because that something is happening, right? I'm not trying to get your attention. I'm not trying to get views. I'm saying this is happening, right? Because it is happening. And I think a lot of people that follow me know that. They know that I'm not alarmist and I don't do that. Real Bill, thank you so much for your membership. I really appreciate that, man. Really appreciate that. Thank you for the gifts over here on TikTok. Please gift the moderator. She's here to help. What worries me concerning energy is the way things are shaping up in the United States regarding energy. We have increasing energy demand in the United States. So just let me lay out some facts. In 2016, we lifted the export ban for oil. Okay. In 2016, the end of 2016, we began exporting oil. We lifted the ban. All increases in oil production in the United States since that time, 100% of the increases in oil production since that time has all gone to be export, has all gone to export. We've increased production by roughly 4.5 million barrels a day, and we're exporting 4.5 million barrels. Do you understand what I'm saying? Every single increase in oil production in the United States, every drop, is being exported. Okay. Secondly, gasoline, refined fuels, gasoline, diesel, a lot of that being exported. Now we have natural gas. All of the increases in natural gas production, is being exported. Every single thing that we increase, every commodity, every source of energy other than, nuclear or renewable, but every source of fossil fuel energy that we have increased over the last 8 years, 100% of it is being exported. And what that means is the people in the United States are getting zero benefit from any of the things we have achieved in this, Donald Trump calls it energy dominance. If the people of the United States don't benefit at all from it, right? then what is the point? What is the point of us doing what we're doing if the people aren't benefiting from it? So who's benefiting from it, right? It's benefiting billionaires, but it's not benefiting Lucius. It's not benefiting, Vicky Lynn over here on TikTok. That's what worries me, because to me, that is a symptom of corporations taking over more and more and more. When you live in a country that has vast natural resources, and we drastically increase production of all of these things, and the people don't enjoy the benefits of any of it. As a matter of fact, not only do the people not enjoy the benefits of it, they have to pay more for what they do get, because we export so much, it puts a strain on our supplies at home. That worries me, because if that's occurring in the energy space, it's also, occurring across the board. Are there concerns that the global market customers will be turning away from these U.S. exports? Not really. It's like there's always someone to sell it to, It's like there's always someone to sell it to. And it's just like a red flag for me. Like, it's, why are people paying $1,200 a month to keep the lights on? Why are people paying $1,200 a month to keep the lights on when we produce more of the thing that makes the lights come on than anybody else on the planet? A lot of times people don't make the connection between that. They look at their utility bill. Oh, my utility bill is $1,200, right? It's like, man, and they're pissed off about that. They would be really pissed off about that if they made that connection to, you're paying more than you have ever paid for something at a time when we have more of it than we've ever had. That just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? That just doesn't make any sense. People send me videos and content every day of people's utility bills, and that's why I've had a lot of focus on it the last few days, because I get flooded with this stuff. I get flooded with this stuff. So XYZ Golf says that is what the market will bear. Actually, it is not what the market will bear. It is not what the market will bear. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. If the people in the United States, if the taxpayers have to step in and pay those bills, pay a lot of those $1,200 electric bills, that's not what the market will bear. That's what a subsidized market will bear, and that's what's happening. Because when people get these bills and they can't pay them, they go to their electric company and says, hey, don't worry about that. We have a home heating assistance program that you can sign up for, and it'll help you pay your bill. And then they're like, yes, I'm going to sign up for that home heating assistance program. And what those people don't know is that program is funded by U.S. taxpayers and set up by the government. And the number one oil and gas subsidy in the United States is the home heating assistance program. So why wouldn't utility companies charge people $1,200 a month when, if they can't pay it, the taxpayers will? Why wouldn't they do that, right? And that's what I mean by the market can't bear it, because it's The people aren't paying, a lot of people are paying their $1,200 bills, but a lot of people are having to get help from the taxpayers to pay those. And the utility companies know that that assistance is available. So if you own a business and you can charge, $1,200 for something that's worth $300 and know you're still going to get paid because the taxpayers over here are going to cover it, what are you going to do? You're going to charge that? Of course you're going to charge it. And that's what's happening. It doesn't cost $800. These people are getting billed $800 a month to be connected to the fucking grid. That's not $800. That's not an $800 thing. Where I live, your service fee, which is like the fee you pay to be connected, and it's called service and delivery where I live. It's $40 a month. It's $40 a month to be connected, to have access. And there's people in other states that are probably largely unregulated who are paying like $800 a month just to be connected to the fucking grid. That's insane. Now look at how many people live in that area or that whole state. It's insane. I wonder if companies are shocking the system knowing the government will step in. That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what I'm saying. If there's subsidies to be had to help people pay their bills, why wouldn't they just charge them whatever they want, Has there ever been an investigation done on one of these companies that resulted in fines? And I know there's been a lot of investigations done, and I'm sure there's been some investigations done that have resulted in fines. And another thing I'm completely sure of that I don't even have to go look is that those fines were a drop in the bucket compared to the money they made by overcharging people. That's what I know for sure. Is it a good thing or a bad thing to have that assistance provided by the American government? It's a bad thing that something good is being used to do a bad thing. I'm not saying the home eating assistance is bad. I'm saying that companies will find any way they can to screw people over, right? That like this is how people become billionaires. An honest man never became a billionaire, right? Is that a thing? Has an honest person ever become a billionaire? So people often find things that are intended to be good and positive services for the people, and they find ways to manipulate those things to enrich themselves. Virginia has regulations. The companies have to request rate increases to the state. Yeah, so companies have to request rate increases. I think that happens in all 50 states. But here's the thing: they do it twice a year, and they get it almost every time. They do it twice a year, and they get what they want almost every time, and that adds up over the years, right? What do I know about Texas? That's a pretty broad question. Can you be a little more specific? Jay Ryan says onshore wind is the cheapest way to generate electricity now. And that may be true, but that doesn't mean that it's cheaper, that it's cheapest for the person that's buying it, right? That's sort of the, cheap renewable energy. We've heard that term many times. Cheap renewable energy. Okay, it is cheap. It's cheap for the company that's producing it. It's not cheap for the end user who's buying it because they're still paying, right? It's not cheap for the end user. Not cheap for the end user. Jill,
Yes.
what's up with your electric bill?
So it has gone up. Like my bill was over $300 this time. But it isn't, I don't think mine's connected like that. Like I should, like we have a set agreement.
Like an average?
Not me personally, the here in Pennsylvania with my electric company.
Right. So you're not experiencing that.
Not so much, no. But I mean, it has gone up. I'm not saying my bill has not gone up. It has gone up since last year, absolutely. But I don't think we're going to get the height that's coming or is here or whatever.
Yeah, it's not happening to everyone, It's happening to a lot of people though.
Yes. Yes. I see a lot of people complaining, and they're like on the same bill company as me, and I'm like, it had already gone up. What are you talking about? Like, maybe it's you? But yeah, I've been trying to cut back because I don't know if we're gonna. If I haven't got a letter yet saying that we're going up, usually you get that, you know, in with your electric bill. But I'll keep an eye on it.
Real Bill, thank you for coming in today. Thank you for coming back today. Thank you for your membership. Good afternoon, Tawana. How are you? Yeah, my bill hasn't changed that much, but where I live, electricity is pretty cheap. So we're at like 17 cents is what we pay for electricity.
I don't know what we pay. I don't remember.
Christy says we call it budget billing, and they take the last 12 months average. Yeah, that's what we do too. We have an average thing, and 17 cents per kilowatt hour is what we pay here. I think there's 3 or 4 states that pay over 30 cents a kilowatt hour, which is pretty expensive.
So my bill is not as high as a lot of people's around here because I have a gas furnace and a gas stove.
Yeah. I know Massachusetts is like 30, 31. California's 30 something. I think Hawaii might be 40. I think Hawaii might be the one state that hits 40. It's either Hawaii or Alaska, maybe both. But yeah, our electricity here is really reasonable. Diggity says tariffs are going to smoke Michigan. We get a large percentage of our natural gas from Canada. North Texas, 15 cent kilowatt for 1 to 2,000, but it's 19 for less than 1,000. Okay. Everyone's looking at their electric bills to see what they're paying. Brian says they also accept eggs as payment. How many eggs? How many eggs to pay your electric bill? Like 4? You just walk in their office with 4 eggs. It's like, I have 4 eggs. Mary is 15. My so-called retirement is 12. Yeah. Thank you for coming in, Stacy. Beaten Path says, all the people I know who complain that their utility bill is high can't stop buying Yeti coolers and Oakley sunglasses.
I did not buy that Yeti cooler. Okay, I would have liked to, but I did not do it. So I complained, but I didn't buy that. I did not buy it.
40 cents in California. That's what I thought. Man, that's expensive. 40 cents? Holy cow. So if you weren't here in the beginning, I'll make an announcement tomorrow. Tom Powell, interviewing Tom Powell tomorrow. This is a sort of a get to know your creator series. Next week, Robert Rapier, senior energy contributor for Forbes magazine, and I think Justin Rupel as well next week, actor, comedian, impressionist.
So I see 9.48 cents per kilowatt.
On your bill?
Yes.
That is cheap.
See?
That is cheap. Your sarcastic sister found me through Tom Powell. So that's half the equation. The other half is how much do you use? And Clem says, I just saw your grid report video and learned I live in the MESO area. Existential dread intensifies. That video was not meant to cause you worry or concern. It was just meant to inform. That you're at a high risk for a lot of power disruptions in the future. That was Illinois. I think Indiana was in there. I think Michigan was in there, Wisconsin. I think Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri. Thank you for the gifts. My fuel factor cost is 4 cents, totaling $95, but my bill is $375. How is that? I would look at your delivery. Man, they're nailing people on delivery charges these days. That's where they're really nailing people, and it's such a bullshit charge. It really is. Yeah. Danny D right here. I pay more for delivery than I do for supply. Exactly. And that delivery charge is a bullshit charge. Delivery charge on a utility bill is kind of like a documentation fee on a loan. They don't have to, like they could just make it whatever. They could make it $10. They could make it $200. That's what a delivery fee is. Makeup Madness, 17 cents kilowatt hour. Yeah, paid 42.47 for supply and $80 for delivery. Exactly. That's exactly what I've been telling people. Is they're killing people on the delivery charges, and the utility bills that I've seen in Massachusetts and Connecticut and some of these other places. Those people are getting hit for $500 or $600 for delivery charges. $500 or $600 to the toll to send it down a power line is $500 or $600. That's where they're getting people.
I can't even find that on my bill.
You can't find delivery?
No.
It's probably defined. Do you have a service fee?
I have customer distribution charge.
That's delivery.
And then, okay, well, I have two of them, distribution charge and customer. So I pay $7.89 for one and $7.68 for the other.
Exactly. You're paying $7 for what Makeup Madness is paying $80 for. It's a yeah, Yakety Smack says fees, sneaky money seize. That's exactly what it is. It's a money seize. They're not paying. They're not paying for that. So what they do is when they want to build some more power lines, they're like, okay, we got to pay for this, and we're not going to use our profits. We're not going to use the $3 billion we made last year. That's our money. So what we're going to do is we're going to charge everyone, I don't know, how about $200 a month just to be hooked up to the power line? How about we do that? And then that'll pay for our new power lines. And then we'll just leave it there. And then we'll just leave it there, right? That's what they do. Yeah, banks started it with the fees. And now, didn't we just get rid of the Consumer Protection Bureau? Isn't that something we just got rid of? The thing that's designed to protect people from that kind of stuff? Gone. Ryan's delivery was 212 and his usage was 158. Ryan was overcharged by about $200 on his delivery, it looks like to me. And not only do they charge them $212 for delivery, they can't keep the power on. Well, if the power's not on, then they're not delivering it right. Are natural gas prices in Canada at risk of spikes like in the United States based on 5-year storage range risks EIA data? It's not. It's it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. Every place is exposed to volatility when it comes to natural gas prices because it is so much driven by the weather, and it takes so little extra storage or loss of inventory to have a dramatic effect on the pricing. So everybody is exposed to that. To really get a good feel for it, I would need to look up Canada's storage capacity to, you know, their capacity to retain inventory. You know, a lot of natural gas is stored underground. It's stored in salt caverns, caves, depleted wells. They literally stick it anywhere they can. And we have a lot of storage capacity in the United States. And so when you have as much storage capacity when we do, when that begins to drop, it's pretty significant because we have a ton of capacity. Everyone is looking at their electric bills and getting pissed off as we speak. You're welcome, I guess. I guess that's my fault. We are in range for 5-year LNG reserves. So it's not LNG, it's just natural gas. So we're below the 5-year average, but we're within the 5-year range. But we're at the very bottom of it. And after this week's temperatures, record cold temperatures, when next week's report comes out, we're likely to be below the 5-year range, not just the average, but the range as well. And anytime you fall below the range, you get significant price increases. The last time we were below the range, natural gas got up to $10 an MCF. We have another cold spell coming next week. Or not next week, but first week of March. There's going to be another cold front come in. It's not going to be as bad as the last one, the one we're in right now. If we get significantly below the 5-year range, the window, it is very difficult to get back into that during the summertime. We're just using a shit ton of gas right now. A shit ton. Explain the asphalt failing in North Dakota. I'll try. I'm not an asphalt expert, but asphalt is flexible, and it's put down over a bed, right? And asphalt itself is flexible. And if you make it not flexible, that's 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 essentially what's happening. Once it loses its flexibility, it breaks. That's how it was explained to me. Because I had to go ask somebody, what's the deal with this? Massachusetts approved a 27% increase on delivery fees last year for Eversource. Do you think that's why? Yeah, and I've been looking at Eversource, and they've had a lot of increases over the last few years. In addition to that, they're being investigated. Eversource is being investigated for fraud. And in addition to that, um, they just lost, I think it was $1.5 billion on an offshore wind project, and I think they're trying to recoup those losses through their customers. The more I read about Eversource, the worse it gets. Thank you, Irene. Thank you so much. What is Diamondback up to buying everything? Yeah, I thought the sort of consolidation phase of the industry, I thought we'd kind of got past it, but now we have Diamondback acquiring us. I can't remember, was it a $4 billion acquisition? Um, if you guys aren't familiar with Diamondback, they're a big operator in West Texas in the Permian Basin. Um, a lot of times those deals are good for both companies, for the shareholders anyway. You take two companies, you put them together, you fire a bunch of people, and as an investor, you make a lot more money, right? And that's exactly what they're doing. It's exactly what they're doing. Pap says moisture under asphalt freezes, causing it to heave upward. When it drops back down, it cracks. Makes sense to me. Interview with Eversource rate guy said that their profit margin is 10%. I'm sorry, a public utility should not be a profit engine. It should be forced to reinvest any profit back into lower rates. 10% is very high for a utility. I did see that they had about an $800 million profit last year. Um, big fish eating little fish, corporate America. Yeah. I would like to be a little fish right now, or I would like a big fish to come pay me a visit. Sometimes it's very good to be the little fish. Sometimes it's very good to be the little fish. The amount of equipment operators that think we are about to drill them to death is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. There's a lot of people in the industry that are just super excited. They think we're gonna just drill, baby, drill, and they're in for a surprise. I'll come up with some excuse why it's not happening. Thank you, Toby Witten. Eggs at Trader Joe's are only $4.99 a dozen. Is that a good price for eggs? I haven't bought eggs. Jill, what's a good price for eggs? Is $4.99 a good price?
Absolutely.
Is it? Good.
We're $7 and something here. Oh no, don't ask about the chickens.
I hear we're pimping chickens out or something. Roman Roman Cantu. South Texas is full of these dreams of drill baby drill. Yeah, it's everywhere. Roman also says best price is buying 12 chickens. Well, that's not always the case because we did that and we ended up with no eggs and no chickens. So I feel like we didn't do good on that, right? Um, but we did save money on dog food. I guess you could look at it that way. We did save money on dog food. You know,
Okay, we do not talk about your chickens. Your poor chickens.
Hi Rusty, how are you? Diamondback is running out of Tier 1 geology and looking to regain some of that, and the property they acquired is bolt on. Yes. Bolt on property. Do you guys know what that means? You have a field and there's a field next to yours where it like makes one congruous map. That's bolt on. What was the investigation you talked about a while back about a couple of oil guys doing crimes with Trump? I don't remember any of the specifics. The investigation, Scott Sheffield with Pioneer, and who's that other guy? The guy from Hess. So the allegation is that they were in communication, improper communications with OPEC oil ministers, working with them to keep oil prices high. Right? That's the allegation. Um, with with Donald Trump coming in, I'm sure those investigations are dog dead. I'm sure they're gone. Right? Roman says chickens eat everything you don't. Leftovers feed them. My chickens don't eat anything.
Oh my God, stop.
Yeah, my chickens got eaten. They didn't eat. They got eaten. Rusty's at the racetrack. Wow. It, what's the matter? It's just chickens. We had a massive failure in our chicken operation. Maybe I can write off the losses. How safe are new natural gas pipelines? I own 10 acres with one crossing it. They're pretty safe. Just don't dig a hole. Yeah, don't dig. Don't dig. Yeah, Brian, my dogs wiped out my chickens. Can you expand on why they won't or can't drill baby drill? They won't drill baby drill because it's not profitable. And they have a duty to their shareholders, not to Donald Trump. And they're not going to lose money because Donald Trump wants them to. That's not a thing, right? Yeah. Uh, Karen wins the chat today. Karen wins the chat. Regarding my chickens, Karen says it sounds like foul play was involved. Um, I think that wins. I think that's a winner right there. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Jill, unmute.
I am. I unmuted. I was getting there. I was in the middle of writing a comment. What?
Jill said sounds like foul play. Or not Jill, Karen. Regarding my
The
chickens.
chickens?
Yeah, sounds like foul play.
It was.
Yeah. And I said winner, winner, chicken dinner because that's the comment of the day.
It was. Listen, that's a sad story.
They did. Yeah. They clocked around and found out.
My God, stop. Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him.
Look, good news about the chicken story. We did manage to save a couple of them and take them to somebody who's more responsible than we are. So,
Okay, by luck, there was a couple of them saved that
yeah,
you were able to take off.
I didn't suggest it wasn't luck. It was definitely luck. Uh, they were very fast and very good at hiding, so they lived, you know.
Now, Zipping in YouTube says, no, please encourage him. Zipping, I'm a mod. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Craig said that joke laid an egg, and he's probably right. But sister, her cat ate her hamster.
Okay, I'm traumatized by hearing that.
How how do you get attached to a hamster?
I had 3 of them.
And they wag their tails.
No, I don't remember them wagging their tails.
Are they happy to see you?
Yeah, they were happy to see me.
What happened to your hamsters, Jill?
They passed of old age.
And how long does a hamster live?
So a hamster usually only lives 5 years or so. Mine lived 8.
Wow.
I had one that lived 9.
So your hamsters lived 70 to 80% longer than the average hamster.
Well, I mean, some people might be able to keep them alive that long. 2 to 5 years is what the average is.
You found your hamster's foot under the couch?
Oh my God.
That's what she said. Oh, man. They eat them off the feet?
What? Dude, I've never had my hamsters eat their feet off. I didn't.
Well, you know, you learn something every day. You learn something every day. How is an Appalachian, Pennsylvania girl traumatized by the hamster comment? I don't know. I don't know.
Um, Probably because I'm not. I am traumatized by the the hamster thing, though. Yes, absolutely.
Did you hear my dog?
I do.
Such an asshole.
No, my hamsters were not receiving Social Security checks. No, they were elder, but they did not receive them.
That's too bad. So if life expectancy of a hamster is 5 years, with like after 4 they get Social Security.
I don't know. It's 2 to 5 years or so, something like that. Some can, not make it after 2 years. I had mine all from babies. All but one. I ended up taking a family member's because they couldn't keep care for him, and that one um, also lived to be 7, I believe, 7, something like that.
So you were breeding hamsters?
No, not me. I got them off of someone who said they had 2 females from the pet store, and it was definitely not 2 females. It was definitely not.
I have the sudden urge to Google hamsters breeding. Um,
No,
I don't know why. Huh?
no, you don't want to do that.
You think they're you think they're like rabbits? Have you seen it? Is that why you're telling me not to do
No,
it, or?
I'm not telling you I've seen it. I'm just saying you don't want to do that.
I kind of do. My curiosity is piqued.
Uh-huh. And I know you will do it then.
I depends on how funny it is, though. Like it's got to be funny. Like those big turtles. That's funny.
No. The turtles, not the turtles.
Yes.
Nadia played the video in my live last night again.
What what kind of turtles are those? Sea turtles?
No.
They're great big turtles.
Yeah, yeah, Nadia said you missed a good live last night. You definitely did. Oh man.
I wish I could make that sound.
Nadia was making the sound.
I
Oh yes. Read her comment.
monkeys and turtles. You know, them turtles ain't got nothing on them fruit bats though.
So if you were there, you could have showed the fruit bat video like she did the monkey and the turtles. Oh. And that's the turtle, folks.
He's so happy. You gotta be happy for that guy. Like,
Did you see the other turtle's poor face?
I couldn't get it to stop. That little fucker was committed. Yeah. All right. What did you walk into? You walked into turtles mating.
Tina. No, Juju, that was not his video.
No. I don't sound anything like that.
Oh my God.
It would be funny if I did, but I don't.
Oh, I'm like a beauty.
What? Jill had to mute. To thank Nadia for showing me the turtle thing a while back, months ago, whenever it was. I had no idea turtles did that. So is she blushing? I don't think she's blushing. I think she just needs a minute. She might be, but I don't think she is. She'll be all right. She has a lot of experience with these turtles. Like she's, so. uh, Mr. Global, when am I getting my $5,000? When are you getting your $5,000? I don't know. I don't think you're getting $5,000. I mean, you might get $5,000, but I don't think you're getting it from where you think you're getting it.
So, I already got mine, but it was over 9,000. I don't understand what he's talking about.
You got $9,000?
Yeah.
Heck
Elon
yeah.
gave it to me.
Huh?
Yeah, Elon gave it to me.
Heck yeah. You can go get that Yeti. You can buy at least 4 of them with that.
See, look, Susan got hers too. So I guess he's only giving it to the non-Trumpers.
I don't know if I got one or not, but
Just go along with it.
was it a direct deposit?
Yes. I can't not laugh. I can't not laugh.
Well, congratulations on your $9,000.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations on that 20% of $0 that everybody's getting.
I would be so pumped if I got $9,000.
I would be pumped if I got $9,000 too. But yeah, no. He said he's given 20% of the findings that Elon did. Well, that's 20% of $0. So what does that equal?
Zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, I forgot to carry the one.
No, there's no carrying of anyone. It's $0.
Senior said it's going out February the 31st. Okay. Everyone, February the 31st, your $9,000 check is coming. That's true. That $9,000 is going to go a long way because, with everything only costing half as much as it did before you got the $9,000. Um, yeah, it might as well be $18,000. What would I do with the 5 grand? Probably nothing.
Yeah, he would buy me a Yeti cup. That's what he would do.
Yeah, I would do that. I would. Yeah. Some etching, laser etching, or whatever they call it on there.
Yeah.
Is it Cash or Doge? I don't know. Two Yetis. We don't want to spend it all in one place. Nadia's going to use her $9,000 to buy a chicken farm. Would you like a couple of dogs for your chicken farm, Nadia?
No, she don't want no dogs for her farm.
How much is a Bitcoin right now? 50, 60 grand? I have no idea. Professor Oscar, 98,000 for a Bitcoin? Is it that high? Wow. I don't pay much attention to crypto markets, as you can tell. That's high. I remember when it was like $100. Monkey Boots is going to buy TikTok with her Trump bucks. Do you think we're going to sell off the national parks? No. No, we're not going to sell off national parks.
Do you see how quickly I changed 5,000 to 9,000?
Yeah.
That's how conspiracy theories get around so quickly.
Yeah. The Trump bucks say, "In Lord we trust." In Lord we trust. What drives electric rates up? Electric companies drive electric rates up when they ask for rate increases twice a year. Natural gas does drive electric rates up. High demand periods, cold weather, hot weather. Electricity is just like any other product. The more demand, the more expensive it is. It's just like eggs. Electricity is just like eggs. We're low on eggs, eggs are expensive. Low on electricity generation, electricity is more expensive. If they drill Yellowstone, they're going to get off into some shit they don't want to get off into and probably have a disaster. I got about 7 inches of snow south of Kansas City, but it's nowhere to be found because the wind was blowing 25 knots. Has a 100-foot drift been found in Oklahoma? Probably. I know it's pretty bad in northeast Oklahoma, like going into Missouri. Why doesn't Canada get hit with the bird flu? That's a great question. I don't know. Maybe it's too cold. Maybe it can't spread in those very cold temperatures. Or maybe it's something else. I'm sure you have birds in Canada. I'm sure birds exist in Canada. So, um, Monkey Boots says it's too cold. Canada has a law to kill all the chickens, if they have bird flu. We have that too. We have to do that too. Sandra says the birds are vaccinated. Canadian birds are vaccinated. UCHC, Universal Chicken Healthcare. We need some turtle healthcare. That's what we need. We need turtle healthcare, otherwise known as THC. Um, because that sounded like it hurt. That sounded like it hurt. House cats are getting bird flu from farm workers and dairy workers. If a house cat gets the bird flu, is it then the cat flu? Or is it still the bird flu?
So it's still H5N1, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's still the same thing.
Yeah, but the bird flu is like a moniker or whatever we've given it. It's like a name we've given it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't become the cat flu.
No, it's H5N1.
I know
Then.
it's H5N1.
Well, I mean, once it spreads to humans and cats, that's just what it is.
Oh, so it's not bird flu. It's just H5N1.
Which is the same thing as bird flu.
I got you.
So it stays bird flu.
Think about monkeypox. I don't want to think about monkeypox. Who's going to win the game tonight? I don't know what game you're talking about. Comes from chickens in the Far East. Wow. Canada versus USA in hockey. I don't watch hockey. You watch hockey, Jill?
I used to.
Did you quit?
Yes. I haven't watched hockey in a while.
Why'd you quit?
I think life. Like, you know, other things came up. Plus, sometimes the hockey game would be on during the football game, and you have to go back and forth, back and forth. So I just stayed with the football game.
So I said, why'd you quit? You said, I guess life.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard you say was, I got a life.
Well, I had a life then. It's just that other things in life came up.
No, it sounded like you were dissing hockey.
No, I like hockey.
You were like, I got a life. I quit
No.
watching it because I got a life.
That's not what I meant when I said that. So, no.
I don't know anything about hockey. I
Just
don't.
different things in life came up. Like, I ended up with my husband, and he didn't watch hockey, and he'd rather just keep it on the football game when it was playing during that, and instead of going back and forth. So eventually, I just kind of quit watching it.
If you were going to invest money and energy, where would you put it? Somewhere towards natural gas. Somewhere towards natural gas. So, Joe, the first time I was in Pennsylvania, I went into this bar, and there was hockey games on TVs all the way around the bar, right? Or hell, it might have been the same hockey game. I don't know.
Yeah, it probably was.
And this was a very spirited bunch of people in this bar watching hockey, right? Um, and I was just sitting there. I ordered some food. I'm just sitting there. And I made a mistake of asking the bartender if there was like anything else on.
Oh, you expected them to turn off their Penguins game. Cool.
No, I didn't expect them to, but there was like 50 TVs, you know. Everybody could have still watched hockey.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
I mean, I knew what the response was going to be. Like I didn't expect, you know,
Right.
for them to change the channel. I was just messing with them.
So not every Pittsburgher has a sense of humor like I do. So how'd that go?
I wasn't in Pittsburgh. I was in Eastern Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
I was in can't remember the name of that town. Wellsboro. I was in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania.
No cyber dog.
Did you do your beneficial owners report? Looks like a judge reinstated the requirement. I did. I did do the beneficial owners report. If you're talking about the FinCEN thing, actually, Legal Dad reminded me because he did a video on it like 6 months before it was supposed to be done, and I commented on the video like, I got 6 months. I'll worry about it later. Dude sent me a message 6 months later. Hey, don't forget to do that. And I had forgotten. Ain't that weird? Hey, make sure you do your FinCEN report. I was just messing with them. They weren't going to run me out of the bar. So you're a Penguin fan?
Yes.
Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. can see why you're a Penguins fan.
Why is that?
Why do you think?
What are you watching? I don't know what you're thinking.
Oh boy.
Oh my God, no. I knew it. That's why I did not want to answer that.
Very ritualistic. You know, penguins are cool, right?
They are. Yeah, oh my God.
What?
Tab, I have to engage with him on here.
Do you see?
Why?
What's in the
Why?
background? Why what? Was that a turtle in the background? Was a turtle watching?
I don't know.
Fucking turtles, man. You brought up penguins, not me.
No. I brought up the Pittsburgh Penguins, the hockey.
You said you were a fan of penguins.
Yes, the Pittsburgh Penguins, okay? Because he was talking about hockey.
You know, penguins, they have a mate for life. Did you know that? um, yeah, they spend their whole life with one penguin.
Right?
Yeah. Do you think, like, in the penguin community, there's like horror penguins that, you know,
No, I
sleep
don't think
around?
so.
You don't think so?
No.
I should ask AI if there's horror penguins.
You do that.
Don't you want to know?
I don't think they're like humans,
Would you be
no.
disappointed if?
Yeah, and like Juju says, Look at her comment. She's right. That's I agree with her.
Are they in a union? Are they in a? Yeah. How many fish? Yeah. What is the exchange rate for fish to like $20?
I, I suppose it depends on the type of fish.
I guess so. Kash Patel, confirmed head of the FBI. Penguins are not natural. They is man-made. They not in the Bible.
Did you notice I muted after that question? Yeah.
And then you unmuted.
I unmuted to let you know I muted and wasn't saying nothing.
Who's breathing? Hopefully all of us. Um, if you're not breathing, put it in the chat. Like maybe we can get you some help.
So she actually thinks she hears a dog sleeping. I don't know how you would hear my dog from in here, but that is a possibility. Because people hear her all the time.
I don't think I've ever heard May on this live.
No, I'm in the other room, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they're hearing my furnace run. Like,
So Javi is not breathing apparently.
he's laughing so hard.
I don't know what I heard, sister. I hear a lot of things and I just don't pay attention. So I probably heard it. I just didn't think anything of it. Do you think they will ever reduce emission standards on? I don't know if they'll ever reduce them. They might. Enjoy your dinner, Pap.
Bye, Pap. Enjoy your dinner.
Yeah. Well, Jill, I'm going to shut it down. I think we're at a good spot. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming in and joining us today. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, same time. Tom Powell interview tomorrow. Next week, Robert Rapier, Justin Rupel interviews. I'm working on other interviews. Be doing a lot of interviews in the future, right? So, thanks everyone for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
I gotta run. I've got to run. Thank you guys.